Hey, do you guys at the back, do you want to come back and join the party, or what's happening? Are you coming? You coming, listening? What it is, this thing popping a bit, isn't it? Hey, I'm just going to talk about materials. And I've got the bad job of the last speech of the night. You all good? Hey, was that guy Ken? You know the guy Ken, was he the guy on TV? I just wonder if I could get his autograph, but I thought about that and I thought I'm actually going to get Wendy's instead. Anyway, I'm going to talk about materials. Now, this place is on Waiheke Island, and one of the things is when you're working with the coast, you've got to think about the materials. Yeah, thanks. You've got to think about the materials you use in the context of the coast. So in this case, we've got a colour steel roof that's got a sort of coastal grade coating on it. It's called metallic gunmetal. So the idea is that it reflects the sky. It's got a secondary purpose. So in our practice, we like to think about stuff having more than one reason for being there. So the black stained weatherboards are about being recessive. That's a fancy word architects use. And the idea is that it hides into the landscape. The copper, everyone knows that copper lasts forever. And in this particular case, we're playing with the idea of exterior materials coming back inside. And so the notion is that the timber, this is inside the shot behind me. The idea is that we're bringing exterior materials inside, and then what does that feel like? How does that feel? And the idea is that you don't really know whether you're inside or outside. And this is facing towards winter sunset. So the idea is to get beautiful light coming in through these little windows. This is the idea of living on the veranda we talk about. So in this case, the aluminium windows on stainless steel gas struts just open up, and it's like you don't have to build a veranda, you just stay in the kitchen, dining, living room. You stay in the space you're already in. You don't have to move, you don't have to go anywhere else. This is a job that we did with a bunch of students. In fact, some of them are here from Unitec. And it was very much budget driven. So in this case, the choice of materials was down to using plywood, just local treated pine plywood and pine battens. So in this case, it's about choosing a material that's really cost effective, really cheap, painting it. Students painted it all themselves. And then we've got a little bit of yellow cedar joinery there, which is sort of the expensive bit. And you all know that we should really have had a post in the middle there. It's just got a pointer on it? No. So the idea is that we have to use timber beams to be able to take the hole out of the side of the building. Robust materials, the plywood is just a locally grown stuff. It's pretty cheap, and you can hammer it, you can ride your skateboard inside and that kind of thing. And in this case, we're doing again this idea behind me of blurring the edges between inside and outside. So we've taken the deck from the outside through the kitchen, dining room, and out the other side. This is where architects often use the word context, which just means the place that you're in, I guess. And in this case, this is a beautiful wetland out at Karaka. And so a little spur of land. How do you make a building sit into the landscape really nicely and really easily, and yet and feel kind of like it belongs? So in this case, we use really long, wide weatherboards, like extremely wide, like 500-600 millimetres. So that tends to make a house very strongly horizontal. So the idea of this is just let the house very much sit down into the landscape. And all of these little sticks, these fingers that are behind me here, the idea is that they kind of fragment the house and make it sort of break out into the landscape. So we're trying to tie into place. This particular material is incredibly durable. So you can see it a bit more behind me. Can you even see that behind me? Yeah, you can, okay. Here's another notion, is that to the left of the screen, there was a house yet to be built. So we didn't know what was going to go on. So in this case, we've actually done quite a shroud over the building. We've actually wrapped the colour steel over the building, and then each of these louver screens that are made out of yellow cedar are facing the morning sun. So when you're inside the place, you still get plenty of light and plenty of sun, but you can't see the neighbour and the neighbour can't look into you. So it's a sort of a design come about from the place that we're in. So you get a different sense of it at night and during the day. So you get these beautiful plays of light across different textures, different materials. So you've got yellow cedar and you've got colour steel talking to each other. And here it is in a detail. So you've just got the idea that it's not just there for one purpose. It has a series of purposes. Change of materials, it's actually changing the light. It's also letting that winter sun in. This is something we do quite a lot, and it was referred to, I think, by William before, is using wraps. So in this case, we've actually wrapped the roof material over the southern wall. So the south wall is actually typically cold, very few openings, and what we're trying to do is use a fairly cost-effective material and wrap it over the back of the buildings. This house is down the bottom of a valley in Remuera, and we call it Glade House because it's all in amongst all of the trees. And so the idea with this again is using sticks to talk to the trees and then very recessive colours. And we're also using the existing materials that are on the house to make it blend in. So here you can see that the existing ceiling and the existing rafters and everything all is what was there before. So we took the lessons from that. So the materials we use are obviously based on what we need. In this case, the clients came to us and said they wanted a barn. They've been down to some winery down the South Island and they wanted a stone barn. I said, well, hang on, you're in Matakana, that's Northland. We don't have any stone much around there. So in this case, we use this bush totara that William also showed you earlier. So it's all the stuff that's felled, it's on the ground, lying in the bush, and all you got to do is try and get it out. So you can see it's very much a barn-like kind of structure. And beautiful materials. They have like a honeycomb weave through them. So in this case, we've used them for rain screen, what we call a rain screen, which is over the outside of the building. So you use a very cheap, effective cladding in behind that, in this case painted plywood, and then we put this rain screen over it, which gives it a sense of weathering and belonging to this beautiful landscape it's in. So you can see on the top line there, we've used screws and washers to let the boards move and expand and contract. So it's just, we're trying to respect the material that's there. Here's another thing we're doing in a recent sort of project. It's not quite finished, is the idea of using energy. We're very much about, I think Ken mumbled something about sustainability. But to me, it's more the fact that it's embedded in our philosophy. We believe that every architect should be doing stuff sensibly. In this case, we're looking for what they call net zero energy. So the idea is that we can generate as much energy from that set of PV cells on the roof as we actually use in a year. So we trade off our energy with the grid. In this case, this is a garage that's on a main road. So you've got all the diesel fumes, you've got all of the cars chugging away on the main road at rush hour, just chugging away fumes, diesel dust, particulates, all that sort of stuff. So in this case, we chose a really robust material. So here we've got in situ, which just means in place concrete, and it's designed to sort of be really totally bulletproof. You don't have to do anything to that, and it's that kind of dealing with a harsh face of a street. Architects often use this juxtaposition word, which is a bit of a fancy word. It just means sort of stuff put together alongside each other or something. And here we've got a series of steel, powder-coated steel, the concrete, the Lawson cypress. And my mate Gary Lawson's not here, he's an architect, and he says the only reason we're using that product is it's because it's named after him. And I actually told him, no, that's a lie, it's actually the smell. And it's actually a really beautiful smell. So if you've ever felt the texture and the smell of Lawson cypress, it's beautiful, it's really beautiful. So, and when you get damper weather, the smell keeps coming out of it. So I think of the smell, I don't think about Gary, okay? In this case, we've used bluestone cobbles, and they get a bit distorted on the screen, but that's about saying this is a pedestrian way. So the cars drive on concrete, the people walk on the bluestone cobbles. So it's using materials to try and signal what you're supposed to be doing in any particular place. And here again, you've got what we often talk about as the rough and the smooth. So on the left, you've got the grooved plywood painted walls, which will take the art. So that's a great place to sort of show art. And then you've got this band sawn Lawson cypress board and batten inside. It's like a cradle inside the building containing the bedrooms above. And then you've got this really fine steel. So steel can do things that aluminium can't, and aluminium does stuff that steel can't. So you choose things appropriately for what you want it to do. And this is a bathhouse, I guess, rather than a bathroom. It's the idea of when you go to bathe in this particular bathroom, you can stand here with the window open. You can bring a sliding screen across. It's like a privacy screen, or you can have it totally closed down, and you've got a duckboard that you can stand on while you're showering. Concrete walls that'll never ever crack, leak, or do any of those nasty things that some shower linings do. And then the beautiful smell and the texture of the Lawson cypress. So the materials here are trying to do some things. And I was trying to think of, there was a bunch of Greeks, I think, a hell of a long time ago, the Greeks, I guess, when they were powerful, but I think they were probably poncing around in their togas, and they call themselves the aesthetes, which is where the word aesthetics, I think, comes from. It's certainly a Greek origin. And we don't really think about aesthetics so much, because you get that thing of, you would have heard it in the media, aesthetically pleasing, and I'm thinking, well, what does that mean? So we tend to think about, what's that doing? What do you want that for? Do you want it robust? Do you want it smooth? Do you want it shiny? Do you want it light? Do you want it dark? Do you want it high? Do you want it low? The smell, the texture. So what we're trying to do, I suppose, with materials, and that's what I was asked to speak about, by the way, so that's why I'm boning on about materials, is to pick them right for the job. Okay, last couple of shots and then you can get drinking again. In this particular case, the shot on the left is a house called Boat Sheds we did in Takapuna a few years ago. And it's got a vertical lift door. It's a very narrow footplate. So if you want to get rid of the doors, where do you park them? Where do they go? So in this case, we've vertically lifted the door. Now, it had to be made out of very fine steel, because most other products wouldn't be able to handle that scale and size. And you can see how it just totally opens up the building. And then the shot on the right is showing pivot doors that are, I think they're about 1.6 metres by 3 metres or so high. So they're really tall, slender elements, and you can't do that in aluminium. But the rest of that house is aluminium. The louvers above, for example, all powder-coated aluminium. So back to my point, you use the stuff that's appropriate for the job, the feel, the place, and not just for some random idea because you saw it in a magazine. And that's the final shot. So it's just that idea of that there's aluminium, there's colour steel that reflects the sky, you've got concrete, you've got timber decking, and you've got a variety of materials. You've got glazed panels. So there's a whole series of materials there that are all coming hopefully together to make a whole. And if we, in our job with our clients and our great builders, and it was really nice hearing William talk about the importance of the relationship with builders and clients. Because I'm a builder myself, I think those things are really very, very important. If you want to make a job go well, it's not a fight. It's like the client does their job, the architect does their job, and our great mates, the builders, do their job. And it's always really good. And this is a project that was really good for us, and it's a reflection, I think, of the fact that each of the people in the game, played their part and did what they could do. Hey, so thanks for listening, and thanks, Gordon, for shutting everyone up.